Maybe the most ironic consumer trend that I have ever seen is the analog bag trend that is taking over the internet right now. This is the physical manifestation of the analog or offline trend that we saw taking shape in 2025, where people deliberately go back to older technologies or hobbies from their youth to avoid being chronically online. Now, this is something that I personally have some skin in the game with, because as of the last 6 months, I've bought a CD player, a DVD player, and I've canceled a bunch of subscriptions to try and limit my online activity and get myself more into the real world. So you could say I'm a little invested. You know, I want this to work. I want people to go back to the analog ways of doing things, because I think that there's a lot of validity in it, and I think it could make some people's lives better if it's done correctly. But unfortunately, the analog bag trend is not looking like it's going to go that way. There are thousands of videos of people online talking about why they created their own analog bags, giving people advice on what to put in their analog bags, going shopping specifically to build their own analog bag from scratch. The contents of these bags are always very nostalgic. They're sort of cottage-core-y, like you're either going to be going back to the early 2000s to use your old Game Boy, or you're knitting a scarf on the bus or something. However, if you've watched this channel for even a little while, you might find it a little ironic that these people are posting videos online about the bag of goodies that they use to stop themselves from going online. But this is not just a funny irony, it is actually a perfect example about how even the most seemingly resilient countercultural trends get commodified and capitalized by our consumer world. So at the end of 2025, we broke down some of the biggest trends that had happened that year, and then we predicted a few that we thought would continue on into 2026. And the offline movement was one of them. The IRL movement, I think, it's like one of the only hopes that we have. The bubble for AI that we're all worried about, that we're all watching continuously expand, consuming everything in its wake. The only way that that doesn't continue is if we all just detract from it. We said that it was probably going to keep growing because people are getting more exhausted with our always online world, right? But we didn't think that we would be making a video about the death of the analog trend in February. We hopped on one of our regular brainstorming calls, and when Lou told us about this, we knew immediately it was over.
Everyone's already said it, but like the analog bag trend is a thing that everybody's shitting on all over the internet right now. We can jump on it.
What trend? Analog bag?
Oh my god, how do you...
Bag?
The analog bag. Everyone is making videos about the analog bag right now. Everybody's talking about it.
You keep saying it. And
can you explain it instead of just saying it again?
So on TikTok, there is a brooding new trend happening. It is brimming on the surface. It is slowly starting to become a lot more popular, but I don't think it's like reached peak popularity yet.
You're explaining this as slowly as the first time.
Guys, let me fucking say it!
There is a bunch of young women online who are all starting this new trend where they have this like physical bag that they have put full of analog things. So like digital cameras, books, physical like wired headphones.
So it's a what's in my bag, but analog.
Yes, exactly. But what everybody's saying is that it actually drives over consumerism a little bit, because everybody is just like out bagging each other. Everyone's like, my bag has this, my bag has that. Here's the perfect bag for your analog bag. Buy this one. Go to my TikTok shop and buy this specific bag to be your analog bag.
Now, is the bag intended to leave the house, or is this like a glorified like hobby trunk or something? Like,
we're
it's
still
a hobby...
not sure. Nobody's ever tried to use this bag for anything.
The idea is that you take this as like, because when you leave your house with just your phone in your pocket, your phone does a million things, right? You can do anything you want with your phone. When you don't have your phone, you need to replace all of those things with physical items that take up more space. So like the camera in your phone becomes the physical camera. The map in your phone becomes a physical map. The music in your phone becomes the CD player and the CDs and the headphones, right?
Okay.
Like it surmounts upon itself. And so you need the bag full of shit to be able to do all the things that you could have done with just your phone.
Now this is the thing, Lou, Matthew, and I brainstormed these videos, and over the years we've just sort of developed a understanding of how these trends work and how consumerism is constantly trying to get you to buy stuff you don't need. And if you want to be a part of these kinds of conversations, we actually have a great Discord group that is connected to our Patreon page. So if you join over there, you get access to this Discord group where we're constantly chatting about these consumer trends that are ridiculous or things that we think might be cool or things that we should avoid. If you're interested in supporting what we do on this channel and getting access to that, the link is down in the description below. Now maybe off the top, I should clarify that when we say that this trend is dead or that it's already over, you know, in the title and the thumbnail, we're saying that the grassroots connection to this trend that birthed it in the first place has been consumed by our capitalist machine. We're going to be talking about this more in a second, but I want to be clear that this doesn't mean that people aren't going to continue to look for ways to be offline and entertaining themselves in more wholesome ways maybe than scrolling on our phones. But what you're going to see from now on is going to be an attempt to get you to buy something associated with that initial thought or idea. It is also an interesting thing to note as well that this trend, along with a lot of other trends that we've covered on this channel in the past, is really female dominated. And while we are covering it as a general consumer trend, it's not that we like hate on everything that women tend to like on the internet. It's just that a lot of the trends that go really viral tend to start with a female base. Think about the Starbucks bear mug, the Stanley water bottles, the Labubus, even Dubai chocolate. Like a lot of our consumer trends start in the hands of women. But this story is one that we keep seeing over and over and over again. An idea or an ideology built on some fundamentally good intentions gets slowly commodified and sold to people through a list of curated items that you then must own to be a part of that thing. It happened with minimalism, with zero waste, with veganism, sustainability, and you could really apply this same idea to really any sort of niche consumer category that you can imagine was at one point fringe and sort of countercultural and then eventually got absorbed by the machine that we live in. But the analog trend is particularly interesting. We have a Reader's Digest article that talks about how analog bags are the antidote to doom scrolling. They have facts like how screen time has jumped in the last 10 years and how an offline hobby can help with your mental health. It can boost your attention span and help you connect with real people in real life, all of which is true, but has been weaponized to get you to buy a bunch of stuff. And in this Reader's Digest article, actually, I was very surprised. They don't have a bunch of affiliate links, but most articles do. They almost always have a list of things that hyperlink you to a page in which they get a commission. Creators who are talking about this stuff, who happen to go viral, then proceed to follow it with another video directing their audience towards an Amazon storefront so that they can purchase their own bag filler. Like, the irony here is that you are going online to watch a bunch of videos about various offline activities, and then you go onto Amazon to buy a bunch of crap so that you can use it offline. Like that right there, that disconnect should be all the red flags that you need, but apparently not. And in the brainstorming process, we tried to capture why this cycle keeps happening and what it is about this style of video that becomes so popular. And the thing is, I kind of know because I've made these videos in the past quite a bit.
Like, I made what's in my bag videos. Those were some of my best performing videos. And in those videos, I showed my zero waste meal kit thing with my fucking fork and my stainless steel straw. And I showed my high quality leather wallet and my water bottle and my little bag and stuff for groceries and my container for food. Like, I did this. I've already lived the analog bag life. It was just the zero waste bag or my EDC. And if I made the same message, but the video wasn't about my everyday carry or my bag or whatever, nobody cares because there's nothing to buy. There's no consumptive pattern. And I think it's part of this dumbing down of our creativity through the mechanism of shopping and consumerism, because there's no other way for us to engage with things anymore.
You have this niche, like say you're sort of like an outdoorsy hunter guy, or you're like a minimalist, or maybe you're like a tech bro or something. There will be a whole series of everyday carry videos or what's in my bag videos that sort of show you all of the things, all the social signifiers that you need to own to fit in with that niche. And from a viewer's perspective, it makes a lot of sense, right? You want to be more intentional, you want to be more sustainable, you want to be more cool or interesting or whatever. The easiest way for you to achieve some sort of tangible version of that version of yourself is to buy the stuff that makes you look the part. And so yes, it is kind of weird that we have people going to a department store to buy a bunch of stuff for these like theoretical hobbies that they're going to do with their analog bag. But we also have brands making promotional videos trying to get people to buy all their analog stuff from their store. Mickey Galvin in her video in defense of being online made a really good comparison between the analog trend and the protein trend, which we also made a video about last year. And the similarity being that if there is a niche group of people who is interested in something, it will inevitably get commodified. And this is how capitalism stays dominant, by absorbing and commodifying social trends that kind of exist on the outliers. You might think that you're doing some sort of countercultural thing and you're super punk rock or whatever, but then punk rock becomes mainstream, right? And this is happening constantly. Like the next fad diet, fashion statement, lifestyle aesthetic, or whatever that seems to capture a moment gets run through the mill. But here's the problem that I have with this specifically when it comes to the online trend. Because from the beginning, I've been sort of skeptical of these sort of real world efforts that we see for people trying to be more offline, and the videos that we see of people talking about it on TikTok or whatever. This is just a good content strategy. Like a social media detox, or like I'm switching to a dumb phone, or I'm bringing back the iPod kind of video does really well as content, but is it a really truly realistic lifestyle choice day to day? Like there's a video that we found where this person literally chains their phone to a wall, which is great. It's gonna get a lot of clicks and it might keep you off your phone for sure. But it's missing the point that like your phone is a tool. Like it is functional and it does help make your life better. You just need to find a better way of interacting with it.
I think the discourse is almost bigger than the actual problem. A lot of it is content creators making things seem bigger than they actually are, because that's their job. As an influencer, your job is to showcase, you know, like you did with your EDC, with everyday carry. Most people aren't living their lives like that. They're not like packing their bags full of stuff every time they leave their house. Like I think they just have a bag with the shit that they need and they call it a day. And it's the same with all these influencers who are doing the analog bag trend thing, right? Like I genuinely didn't think it was that big of a deal, because I don't actually think that there's that many women out there who are like going out and buying bags. Yeah. To like put all the shit in it, going on eBay, looking up like vintage digicams and shit to like put in their analog bags. Like I don't think that this actual movement is happening at the scale that, you know, the Wall Street Journal is making it out to be.
Now I bring this up because I actually bought one of those bricks, the device that blocks the apps on your phone so that you don't get distracted. Once again, I made a video about that on my Instagram. If you want to follow me on Instagram, you should. I like to think it's sort of like a complimentary page to this. It's a lot less depressing. It's more about like my real life and the things that I'm actually trying to live more intentionally. But the truth is that I'm not actually using the brick as much as I did when I made that video, because I'm really busy as it is. Like I'm with my kid all the time and I'm working the rest of the time, or making food or cleaning the house or whatever. I don't have a lot of time to just scroll on my phone. So this wasn't as practical of a tool for me, but I still made a video about it. Like I still posted it on the internet. So maybe, yes, for some people, the brick might actually be a necessary physical barrier that they need to break the doom scrolling habit that they've developed. But the trend version of this depends entirely on the need to buy something and for people to perform it online for others. Ash Callahan points out that so many of these creators aren't raving about their local library, for example, but instead they're showing off the new books that they bought from a store. Like they're not promoting the idea of like, hey, like, were you into journaling when you were a kid? Do you have like an old journal sitting in your closet? Maybe pull it out. They're like, no, go and go to Target and buy yourself a new journal. Then you'll be able to build your analog bag like I did. And even better yet, buy my affiliate link code to Amazon. The focus of the video, and therefore the trend itself, is less about reading the book or writing in the journal, but more about the journey of going to buy the thing. And then it kind of probably most likely dies right at that point. It is really important to note that there is a very big difference between living a more intentional life, journaling more, knitting more, doing adult coloring books or whatever is in these analog bags, and just making a video and posting it on the internet.
What's so frustrating for me about this thing is that it is so hard to avoid. If you try and care, if you try and push back against what society is promoting endlessly, inevitably that thing just gets consumed by it and you become the thing that you tried to avoid in the first place. Like, it happened to me with sustainability. Like, I was countercultural for a while. I was a weirdo on the internet, and then suddenly the thing that I was weird for doing became culturally accepted as a thing that everybody wanted to do. And it's just like it's an aesthetic that people have now just adopted in one way or another. This is a genuine idea. This is maybe something positive that like might actually be helpful for the world. And oh, there it goes. Got eaten by the monster again. It's literally a trend about not being a part of online trends. It's so perfectly ironic that the trend is about the things that you don't do online, and it's going somewhat viral online.
Analog bags is a good way to make getting off of your phone or getting off of screens manageable, because it shouldn't be an all or nothing thing. But their solution to it is just buying a bunch of shit that you'll never end up interacting with off of whatever platform the creator is going to make the most money off of it.
And here's the uncomfortable truth. This is deep. We're getting into the deep end of this video, so bear with me if you've made it this far. The uncomfortable truth is that the phone in our pockets and the analog bag with all of its contents is there to kind of make us forget about all of the stuff that is going on in our heads that we would have to confront if those distractions weren't there. This trend is popular because we're so scared to be silent or bored with ourselves. We've had to create this elaborate satchel of distractions just so that we don't have a second of boredom. And previously, we never had a minute to be bored or silent because we have this phone that is designed to keep us distracted. This is what it's all about. This is actually what this trend is about, because if we were bored and alone with our thoughts, we might look inwards. And at that point, we may have to confront something true and unsettling about ourselves, something difficult or upsetting that we deliberately avoid through these distractions, digital or otherwise.
I'm looking at the list of things that people put in these analog bags, and I think the question that everybody's asking themselves is, how do I entertain myself when I'm alone? Because I've never had to do this before without my phone. Before our phones, we never spent this much time by ourselves. You know, it was a much more accepted thing to be with other people and to entertain yourself that way. Now, we're expected to spend so much time by ourselves. In all of this like technology, all of the things people give up by going analog is the stuff that has comforted us in this kind of withdrawal into ourselves.
But with this particular example of being offline, much like the minimalism, sustainability trends before it, is that it makes us feel like we're on a path to becoming a better version of ourselves while still avoiding the real thing that makes us feel like we can't be with ourselves. And this is at its core what the analog movement is trying to combat, ironically. Like, I know we're getting really deep here, but hear me out for a second, because this is ultimately at the root of all consumer traps. Like, if we could summarize the entirety of our channel into one section of a video, it would be this. Anything that you are spending time and energy and money to buy that isn't some kind of fundamental need or connected to something that you authentically enjoy is probably preying on some kind of insecurity that you haven't resolved within yourself. And the way that we know this too is that the discourse around the analog trend online seems to come from this sort of pessimistic standpoint. Like, we're very uncomfortable with people who try to improve themselves, especially in a vulnerable forum like TikTok. And this is something very common that happens with these movements that begin very earnestly, is that somebody with a good idea who wants to do something better for themselves taps into something that people really connect with, and then there's another group that comes after it that understands that there's a marketing opportunity. Those people promote the lifestyle and the aesthetic that you need to buy in order to participate with it, and then the critics come out to characterize the entire movement based on that second group of people. Now, we've covered a lot of trends and have gone over this a lot in the past, as I've said, with minimalism and whatnot, and it all kind of just boils down to the same thing. We all have this feeling that we will finally be a part of the community that we have always wanted by owning certain things to become the person that we wish we were. But to clarify, at the end of the video, I need to say two things. First, I still think it's a good idea to try and get offline whenever possible. And two, being online is not inherently bad. Like, I love YouTube. I like a good mindless scroll. I like communities on Discord, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. And there are a lot of things that the internet facilitates that you just can't do in person. But we're also probably online too much right now. And finding those real world activities that truly speak to you, that you actually have a connection with, that brings you out into the world with other people, are going to bring real value into your life, and you should try and explore that. But the important thing to remember here is that you just need to be mindful about how you consume these new offline activities, right? Like I bought my CD player, you know, and there was a chance that I don't really like listening to CDs. Turns out I do, but I will say that the DVD player has been a bit of a bust because we lost the remote for it, and I can't figure out how to program our universal remote to make it work, so it's kind of just sat there for a while. We're back to watching, you know, streamed content and, you know, whatever we can find for free on the Pirate Bay. Am I even allowed to admit that? You can buy things secondhand, you can check in with your local buy nothing groups. Just don't go running over to Michael's or, you know, Amazon to find this new personality that you think is going to make you feel complete inside, okay?
Boredom is important. Not being constantly stimulated all the time is like an important part of the human experience. And in those spaces is where you gain a lot of insight and self-reflection, you know?
I think just like having access to a robust social structure where you have a bunch of friends and a bunch of people in your life that you can constantly see kind of at a whim, community activities in which you can participate at any given time, that gives you the tools to understand how to operate when you're by yourself. It becomes less desperate. There's less desperation to get the entertainment and the stimulation that you need, and it actually allows you to better exist within the physical world, in my opinion. I think that's the best way to get people to actually sit within boredom, because I think just taking a bunch of people who don't have any friends, who don't have any like sports or activities to participate in, and taking their phones away and being like, you have to learn how to be fucking bored, that's not fixing anything. That's not actually solving any issues here. There's like bigger systemic issues that need to be solved.
But hey, if you made it through this whole video, shout out to you. Thank you for watching all the way through the deep end. We love and appreciate you. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next week for another upload.